What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Soundstage here with Kyle, presented by NLFX. So excited to have the one and only Brian McGann with me today. Brian, how we doing, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Thank you, thank you. So how the heck's everything going? We just saw each other out in Vegas last week, and now here we are doing the pod. So
I was gonna say
excited.
I've seen you more than my wife this year.
Unfortunately, I believe you. I
Yeah,
don't know why, but I do. It does seem like that happens though, when things are just kind of back to back to back and all that stuff all the time. So it gets a little nutty out there. But uh, when is it that we officially met? Like
oh man.
2022, I want to
Yeah,
say,
probably
at
around.
Midwest.
Yeah, Midwest is the first time I think we
Yeah,
met. Yep.
you gave me the old, you gave me just a simple tour, and um, yeah, I think we just started talking after that, and just kind of talked more and more ever since then. So
Yeah, that was before your whole NLFX deal.
yeah, my glow up. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was right before my glow up.
that was right before your blow up.
Um, and
I knew
no, it
you
was
when. I knew you when.
yeah, I knew back when he was just a young pup, and all that. So we'll get all into the simple stuff here in a little bit, but we like to start out kind of the background. So been around music for a long time. Like, how did the whole DJ thing start for you? How'd you get into the game?
Oh man. I could actually pinpoint it to exactly when it started. It was a
Okay.
family event that we went to, and there was this DJ there, older guy. Like to me, like I'm probably that old guy now, but
Yeah.
when I was 13 years old, he was an older gentleman. But he had the headpiece microphone and things like
Ooh.
that. He had CDs with different color sleeves that were all like tilted out of his box. That like go grab the purple CD and the yellow CD and things like that. So he was, just doing his thing, and being curious and loving music. I was just kind of poking my head around, and by the end of the event, I was actually back there pressing the buttons while he was out there doing the line dances. And he's like, yellow CD track 3, and I wasn't mixing; I was just pressing play. And but
Yeah.
that's what got like the bug in me for the DJing. I've always loved music, but that was the first time I remember seeing a DJ or touching DJ equipment. And then
Yeah.
yeah,
That's pretty sweet. What age did you say it was? Sorry.
that was, oh man, I was 12 years old, so I'm probably gonna
Okay.
age myself here. That was early 90s.
Yeah, I mean, that's not that different from mine. I mean, I was in sixth grade when I first DJ'd.
Yeah.
Um, and again, mine wasn't nearly as fancy as yours. I wasn't behind the decks or anything. Well, I guess I should say, like, my first forte into it, I guess, a little bit was at when my mom got remarried. That would have been in 1990. And yeah, they had, it was a family friend who was doing it. And I mean, he did it all the time for a lot of different people and everything. But, he was back there with tapes
I guess, yeah.
and, the whole thing of tapes and all that kind of stuff. Shout out to Greg Brandt. Um, Still know the guy's name, but he was out there, and I just kept going back to him like, "This is really like you guys just pick each thing, and then like playing the music because one guy was doing the music, another guy was because they had the switches for lights.
Yep.
So I had another guy who was doing that. I forget what the guy who he did it with was. I forget what his name was, but anyway, yeah, it's kind of crazy how we all get started. So from there, did you just head home and say, "Hey, mom, I need a Fisher Price my first DJ set," or
Well, it was funny. I actually worked at a deli at the time, and my buddy that I worked with at the deli, I kind of told him about
at
it. And he was like,
12? Isn't that illegal now?
yeah, I've been working since I was a very young.
Just a wee lad.
Yeah, I've had a job since I was a very young age. Just doing what I could do, take out the garbage, stuff the
Yeah.
Sunday papers, whatever. But the kid I worked with, was a good friend of mine at the time, and I told him about it, and he's like, "Hey, let's buy some DJ equipment." So we looked in the paper, and we found this lady that was selling Technique 1200s and a Gemini mixer for $1,200, and like these ginormous speakers. But what was funny is another friend of mine at that exact same time started working for a DJ company locally, right?
Okay.
And they were into CDs and things like that. And I used to watch them do like the school dances and stuff like that. So when I got these Technique 1200s with records, I was like, what do I do with these? Like it's 1994, 5, whatever it was. Like CDs are the way to go. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I resold that and bought my first Denon dual CD player.
Sure.
And yeah, and that's what I started. Me and my buddy just started DJing, Sweet 16s because we were all around at that time, like 13, 14 by the time I got into it. So all my friends were turning 16. I just started DJing their Sweet 16s, and from there it snowballed, for years.
Yeah, that's so you're doing this all with your friends. So did your friends stay with you for quite a while, or did they bow out and it was just the Brian show, or how did that go?
So what happened was actually a woman that worked at the deli as well, when she found out that we were doing this, came up to us like a couple months later, was like, "Hey, my husband's looking to get into DJing. Do you mind talking to him about equipment? You seem to know what you're talking about." And this is where the business mind of mine comes in at such a young age. I was 13, 14, like I said. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, if I tell this guy about all this stuff, then he's going to become a competitor. I was like, if he wants to be a DJ, we already have all the equipment. So let him buy himself into what we have. So we brought him on as like a third partner, and he was 10 years older than us. So I was like, all right, he's 25. So he must know about business. He'll take care of the money. I just want to go DJ and play music. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
at 13 years old, I was already thinking business. You know what I mean? But all three of us DJed together for probably a good 5 years, and then I went to college,
Okay.
and that kind of separated us all. So we
As it
divvied up.
does.
Yeah, we divvied up the equipment and said, "Hey, you take this," and I had everything I needed except for speakers. And then I remember in college, my parents were like, "Hey, you got to get a job. Like, we can't keep sending you money." And I said to my dad, I was like, "Dad, if I get a pair of speakers, I can start DJing in college." So my dad lent me money, and I bought my first pair of the original, what was a Mackie SRM 450s.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
The original,
The ones that
original,
were made in Italy and everything.
all that. And those are the speakers that I bought in 1999 when I was a freshman in college. And I opened up my DJing business with those exact same speakers. So my dad's $2,000 investment in college helped me start my first DJing business. But I DJed all through college and then just continued
Yeah.
that way.
Well, I'm a little surprised that they lasted, because I heard if you're not redlining, you're not headlining. So I'm surprised they lasted that long with
We
you. You know, didn't have to replace any woofers or anything. But those old those 450s, they could take a beating. They were
Yep.
pretty good speakers. So then you went out, you started your own business. So was it right out of college? Was it a couple years after you got done with college that you kind of started your own thing?
So the company that I told you that my buddy worked for in high school, I ended up getting picked up by that company as well. So I was kind of like,
Okay.
I was DJing with my two buddies and working for another company at the same time. Was kind of like a conflict of interest. So college kind of came at like a perfect time when I went
Yeah.
away, because then I just stopped DJing for everybody, right? But when I graduated college, my goal was always to get into radio. That's what I always wanted to do.
Okay.
But obviously getting into radio is hard to do. So directly out of
Yeah.
college, I actually worked for ESPN for 3 years and traveled around. I did like a lot of sporting events, like World Series games for the Yankees and Jets and Giants games. Went to Hawaii for the Pro Bowl. Like, it was really cool. And like, it was a cool experience,
Yeah.
but my love was always music. So, I kept throwing my demo tape out there, and I eventually got connected with my local radio station here and worked for them for a long time. Except for like a 2-year stint, I went out to Indiana and did radio at Indiana for 2 years, then came back to New York, continued back to my old station. And that's when I restarted my own DJing business and ended up getting married. And, the rest is history.
The rest is history. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what year did you start your own DJ thing when you're back? What year was that? Roughly?
2011. Yeah,
2011.
2011.
Okay.
So.
Awesome. And did you settle on a name right away and just go with it, or did you have some cringeworthy names along the way like everybody else did?
So it's funny because I never had different identity. Like when I was in college, it was just DJ Brian. I shortened up my name. I'd never had anything special or anything like that. But when I was already in radio at this time before I started my DJing business. So rule number 1 in radio, they always say you never use your real name, because
Okay.
just don't do it. So a couple friends of mine helped me come up with my name of Brian Stylez for my radio name. So when I left radio and started my own DJing business, I just kind of branded it off that. So I just went with Stylez Entertainment. Definitely helped out because people knew the name in the area. Like I said, I was DJing for years, before I went to college for that company. And now they knew I was on the radio and coming back to owning a DJing company. So everything kind of aligned itself. And again, I know we're going to talk about Simple later on, but that's kind of what got me into Simple, because I got so busy so fast. I was like, well, I was a pen and paper kind of guy. I needed something to stay organized. And that's where the whole idea of Simple eventually came down the road.
Right on. So you started doing that in 2011, and you're still going strong in 2025. Still out there doing gigs, doing all that sort of thing. So, like, is there something that just keeps bringing you back? day
To the
after
DJ
day, week after week.
to the DJing part?
Yeah, just the DJing part.
Oh man,
Just
honestly,
to stay in it.
I love music, man. I do. Listen, music's changed. Don't get me wrong. We can have a whole music debate on,
Oh yeah.
how music's changed. But, the one thing I've always loved about music, and any party, doesn't matter if it's a wedding or, a kid's school dance, it doesn't matter, right? Which I don't really do too many of those anymore, but I will mix anything. I love trying to get like create, and I'm no fancy mixer. I don't do any like crazy mashups or cuts or anything like that, but I just love that I can take a song from like the 50s or 60s and mix it with something from today or vice versa. Like I love mashups. That like mashups, I think is one of the things that like I fell in love with early on. And
Yeah.
you know, love putting them together, love coming up with creative, different ideas like that. So that keeps it coming back. But the industry has definitely changed, especially after COVID. Weddings are a little bit different, more laid back, not, they're definitely the high end weddings too, but like it's just a whole different landscape in the wedding industry. So it's funny that my life has taken me on a different path, but also kept me on the same path in DJing as well.
Yeah, it's the same lane. It's just a different arm.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
still able to work and do things with music that you love, but come at it in a different way. The one other thing I always like to ask people, just because I love hearing about people's experiences, because like you said, we all have different experiences as we go through and we do everything in this industry and all that sort of thing. Like, do you guys gonna have like a favorite memory of DJing, like something
Oh
crazy that happened or something awesome that happened, a sweet moment that you were part of, or anything like
man.
that?
There's yeah. Oof. I could tell
I
you a
mean, if you
couple.
got a couple that just stick out, that's okay too. Just wondering, like,
And this one isn't even DJing. This one was actually from my radio days. We used to host a big summer concert here. It was big for a long time. I used to go to it as a kid, So imagine
yeah,
being a kid in that, and then eventually you're the guy on the stage in front of 10,000 people introducing Rihanna before Rihanna was Rihanna, or Pitbull
yeah,
before Pitbull was Pitbull. Like, because the one thing my boss the station I worked at was really good at was he was good at finding out who those artists were going to be that blew up before they blew up.
those up and comers, yeah,
Like I had Justin Bieber at a water park down the road from here, which would like you'd laugh if it's an awesome little water park, but like Justin Bieber at a water park. But
yeah,
before he blew up to what he was on my show, But standing in front of a crowd of 10,000 people, nerve wracking as can be, butterflies in your stomach. But man, is there no feeling like that? Like
it's different. It hits different.
when you get a crowd of 10,000 people to be able to go back and forth with you when you're trying to hype them up and you feel that, like when people say you feel it through your body, like you really do.
Yeah,
But even on a smaller scale, with like not even going as grand as that, like many of weddings, like, and when you get into that pocket and you can't miss, and that crowd is
yeah,
on that vibe or that wavelength with you, man, like you feel
feels
like
really good.
you could feel like you're at a concert and it could be 100-person wedding because it's just that
Yeah,
vibe, or there's nothing like it, and it's hard to explain to people that don't DJ or don't get that, but like
yeah,
it's real.
yeah. And it's not even that they don't DJ, so they don't get it. Is they don't have any desire to even try to do it.
True.
Like I think about that all the time. Like my wife, especially before, she can't as much anymore because we have 4 kids now. But when we only had 1 or 2, it's easier to get babysitters and all that other sort of thing. And we used to live a lot closer to my family, so we were able to get babysitters. So she really liked to come out with me, and she's just like, I love going to weddings with you. Like I love seeing you up there. Like you just you're in your element and you're
Yep.
She's like, I was like, well, why don't you try? She's like, yeah, no, hard pass. Like
Yep.
I'm never gonna do that. Which is odd because she's also like she used to do stuff in theater and on the stage and all that sort of thing all the time. But she's just like trying to decide what makes everybody excited for 3 hours. She's like, there's no way.
Yeah,
I just couldn't do it.
yeah, and that's the thing too. Like my wife, funny too. My wife actually worked for the company that I grew up with that I was telling you about. We knew each other from high school, but she was a party motivator, back
Okay.
then. But she used to come out to my gigs too, like when I started my company. And obviously we have kids too, so it makes it harder. She has her career, but she says the same thing, man. She's like, you're in your element. There's nothing like I hate being on video. That's why like you don't really see too much social media of me DJing. But when she comes, she loves to record. She's like, it needs to get excuse me. She's like, it needs to get out there. Like people need to see how energized you are. And I'm like, I'm just not a camera kind of person. But like when she comes, like that's when you'll know that she's at a wedding with me. You'll see like a boost in my social media.
Yeah. See a whole bunch of suddenly there's videos. Oh, Brian's wife went with
Yeah,
me
and
this
she was there with
last
me.
2
So.
weeks. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really funny. It's that same thing, and my wife, she still brings this up because she hates me for it, but she did have to DJ one time, and it wasn't because of anything that I did. It was her own fault. So the school where we used to live, I just always did all their stuff, and since my wife worked there, we knew all the kids, we did all that. Like I always did it at a discount, and so I'm one of those like give back where you live and all that sort of
Yeah,
thing.
of course.
So, um, we were doing it, and she's just like, "Oh, just so you know, this dance is coming up," and I told them that you would do it and all this stuff. I'm like, "Yeah, I got a wedding that day." This was before everybody used a Google Calendar and a whole thing, so she didn't know.
Did you send her to the wedding and you did the dance? Is that what you did?
Yeah, that's exactly that's what happened. So she's like, "But I told him you do it." I was like, "That's fine. That just means that." And of course, I'm a gear junkie, so I have more than enough gear for 4 people to DJ, let alone
Yeah.
2. But I'm like, "Well, so you're gonna have to do it." She's like, "Well, I can't do it." It's like, yeah, there's not a choice. You told them that we would do it, so we have to be there.
Somebody has to.
And so she's just like, "Well, you have to give me." So I made her just the entire list. She's just like, "Just something I have to follow."
Yeah.
She's
Right.
like, "Don't make me think about it. Don't make me." And I told her like, "Okay, well, this is how you search if somebody wants a specific song."
She was
But-
not fearing from that list, I guarantee.
No. There was a couple times she's like, "No, I played some request. I didn't like it, but I did it." I'm like, "It's not that hard," but okay. So, I just set up that list, and she just straight down the list.
Yep.
And she's just like, "I'm going to hit play, and then when the other one's done, I'm going to hit play." And I'm like, "I'm not doing anything."
That's hysterical.
But she's like, it worked. Like the kids weren't mad, but it's like they didn't seem to have as much fun. I was like, I don't know why. That's weird.
Yeah, people. It's funny. People take for granted for what we do, and and to me, it's not only the prep. Okay, because like yes, you should prep for an event. You should have an idea of what your client wants and things like that. But that doesn't always go as planned. You can prep as much as you want, and when you get to an event, I remember there's times where there's songs that I play at every event that I know are bangers, and all of a sudden there was an event where it just wasn't working, and I'm like, what is going on? Like these never not work, So you have to be prepared for that, and then that's when your brain has to take over and come up with a brand new playlist or know what's going on or read the crowd. Like, my dad, who's that old school Irish, get your hands dirty kind of worker. That's how we all grew up. You know what I mean? And listen, my parents were very, very supportive and still are of everything that I do. And never tried to get me to not do what I'm doing. But my dad was always like, had to tease you with what, you just press buttons and play music for a living? Like, that's what you do?
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the first time he ever came to the radio station and saw what I actually did behind the scenes. Like his eyes were like all over the place. And then, I started DJing family events and he would see me like literally manipulate a crowd and control a crowd. He was like, "So you don't just press buttons?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "I don't."
No. Yeah. And I think that is a big thing that we need to try to keep sending that information and message across, especially going forward. Because, stuff like Spotify and all that kind of stuff, it's just going to get more and more prevalent. It's not going to get less prevalent.
Yep.
And yeah, making an awesome list of songs that you put on Spotify that you and your friends jam to in the car on your drive.
Yep.
Yeah, that's way different than 300 people in a crowd.
Yep.
And I don't know. I've told this story on here before, but it was just one of my holy crap moments just for that whole thing. I had a wedding that we did as we were sophomores in high school. We were doing a wedding. I mean, we charged them quite a bit. I think it was like $300. And we even did the whole thing. Like, we met with them beforehand. We were prepping and doing like, what kind of music do you like? Oh, we're country. Everybody loves country. Everybody loves country. So this is the day of burning CDs.
Yeah.
So we burned 40 CDs of country. Neither my buddy or I ever listened to country. We weren't country people, but we went on LimeWire and got all the country we could find, all that. Get there, do their first few songs, do all their dinner, getting ready to start music, start playing some country. Crickets.
Nothing.
Nobody. And then so we're like, okay, well, maybe not this one. So let's try like a line dance. Well, like Boot Scoot and Boogie. Let's try that.
Yep.
Nothing. Like, oh, good.
4 hours.
So I ran out to my car and I grabbed my visor of CDs.
Oh, you're bringing it back.
Brought that in.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, well, let's try this. I think we put on like a little John song. Everybody on the dance. Oh, good. This is okay.
That's what
we have 6 CDs for the rest of the. Okay, this is gonna be fun. Somehow, like, you get through it, but it was not great.
I don't even know how we got through it back in the day with all that. Like, I think about technology, man, and I'm a tech geek. Like, I love, gizmos and gadgets and, things like that. But I really look at like even records. Like, I feel like that's why my chiropractor still makes so much money, because of all the records I carried for DJs back in the day. But then we went to CDs, and then those CD cases got heavier. And, now with computers, it makes it so much different. But yeah, like, just people didn't understand why after an event you were so tired. And it wasn't even just from the energy of you jumping around. It's the mental. Like, you had to mentally think about songs and know a schedule and stay 10, 15 minutes ahead of what's actually happening, because you have to know speeches are coming up and that dad's not outside smoking a cigarette. And like, it's a lot of brain power to do an event,
It's a lot. And, like you said, now, this holds 10 times more music than we ever brought to an event back then. And all that sort of thing. But then, I do think that people don't quite understand, because my wife's the same point. Like, I was like, well, when you go home, don't you just go to sleep? I'm like, no, you can't. Like, I have so much to come down from.
Yeah, no way.
Like, obviously, because you're having a party, you're having all that sort of fun, all that sort of thing. But then, like you said, you're just exhausted, because I've been thinking for the last 10 hours. Yeah. Because while you're going there, you're thinking, okay, going through the timeline in your head, going through their names in your head, going through the things in their head, and then going there and, like you said, doing the event. And those are the not fun ones, when they give you all of the suggestions and none of them
won't work.
Like, okay.
Yeah, my favorite is always when someone will come up to me and be like, oh, you did my friend's wedding, or I saw you here. You were amazing. You were this, you were that. And then it comes time to plan the wedding, and like everything that you did, that other event that they saw you at, they don't want. It's like, but you told me I did such an awesome job there. That's why you wanted me to do it. And then the stuff that I did, you don't want me to do. I'm like,
oh yeah,
okay.
I mean, I had the same, like that same thing. I had a thing where there were triplets, and they were family friends. Well, the first one I got married, I did their wedding, and it was one way. Yep. Then the next one got married, it was a different way. Then the next one got married, it was a different way. And like, it was the same people, but like the vibes that they wanted were totally like, which is fine. Like, hey, it's your wedding, do what you want. But that also gets hard, because then other people, like, if you do something that you did on, oh, is this the only thing you do all the time? Like, you just do the same thing every single time?
Now, let me ask you a question, DJ to DJ. That's actually a funny question that you just said that, because, I get this way on myself. And obviously we all want to mix it up. We don't want to be stagnant, right? But do you ever feel like you do the same stuff over and over again?
I feel like
do people notice? Like, because that person was at my last wedding.
Yeah. So I definitely do. So I definitely find myself doing like mini sets. Yeah. So, I mean, I've noticed it before, and I in your mind, that you do it, but you don't think about it. Mm-hmm. So when my buddy Jesse got married, Chris Hintz came down and did his wedding. Yep. And so, you were at his convention and everything. He's such an awesome dude. But anyway, so he was going. I kept finding myself, because we're very often never guests at weddings.
I know.
We just go to DJ.
I know.
And so I was just a full-on guest, because, Jesse's like, I don't want any of my friends to think about DJing or do any of that, which was awesome. But then, like, he's doing a song, and so I'm just find myself being like, oh, this song's next.
Yep.
But it's like, because I remember it really was, he played Wannabe by the Spice Girls, and then he went to some song. I can't remember what it was. Well, I do a little mini set where I do Wannabe by Spice Girls into oh my God, why can't I think of it? Miley Cyrus.
Party in the USA?
Party in the USA. I don't know why I can't think of that. Party in the USA into Yeah by Usher. So I do like a little mini set, because I have a couple of remixes of and Party in the USA that really just kind of work with it, and they're really close, and just I think it sounds good. So then it's like, well, that's not the right song. I don't even know what he's not even playing the right song. And then I'm just like, wait, he can play whatever he wants. Like,
you're not.
There's 87,000 different ways that you could take that song, but he chose this path. And I'm like, nope, that's not right.
Yeah.
It's just like,
It's not the way
but
I
then
would.
that's when you kind of catch yourself like, oh yeah, I always kind of play these songs back to back.
Yep.
And it's not always that it's the same songs, but I generally, if I play that group of songs, I'm going to play them in a certain way.
Yeah, because you know they work.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it works, and I want to make sure that I've done this 1,000 times. My, all my buttons are exactly where I want them to be, and it just works.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I definitely find myself doing that. How, you do the same thing, or?
Yeah, I'm getting to the point where like I want to go through all my music and kind of redo some sets or add new songs to the sets that can maybe expand them or take out songs that don't work in the sets. Like I know you're supposed to massage them. I get that. But I don't know if you know Mike Villa, but I remember Mike Villa went on Instagram one day and he's like, I just deleted all my crates. And I'm like, what? I was like, I would never. Like, God bless him. And he's like, no, I do it every year. And I remember me and him having a conversation about it one time. He's like, no, I do it every year. I'm like, I could not do that. Like, I couldn't. Just couldn't.
I would have a hard time doing like, well, and I should say, I don't really have crates for sets. I have like, so I use Virtual DJ. So, I mean, you can call them crates, whatever you want. All my stuff is just kind of broken up by genre and all things like that. Like, I have a 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s bangers, hip hop. Like, I have that kind of thing. But I don't have, and I always just add to those. But so, like, when I'm thinking about something and I want to do something like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, I'm kind of feeling a hip hop. I'll go to that hip hop and be like, what can I get in here? And so again, I'll still use some of the same things, but I don't really break it up into like, because I know some people like, oh, I had a great set at this wedding. Let me just go back and I'm just gonna make that a crate because I think it worked really well and just go back. Like I don't do that, but I guess I will say so in Virtual DJ. It always keeps a history, and so it keeps a history of the playlist that you did. It just automatically does it.
Yep,
it's in the backup. So I'm horrible with names, but for some reason I'm very good at recalling like, oh hey, I did this wedding at this venue right about this date 3 years ago, and it went a lot like this. Let me go see what I played then, and I'll just be like, because I know that worked.
Yeah.
So I'll just kind of look through it and be like, oh yeah, do this, okay.
Yep.
Just to kind of get ideas. I don't know why I can recall that. Like, I know on like one of those triplets weddings, for some reason I know that the third one when she got married, that was August 3rd. I think it was 2019. So then I'll just like, oh yeah, I want to do that. So we'll just go back to that one and just pop right in and oh yeah, that's just how it went.
Good memory.
So I don't know. It's just a weird thing that we can do, but
hey, good memory for it.
Yeah, well, it kind of helps because if you're like, oh, this is going in that same kind of direction, you just kind of.
That's one thing when you say like what keeps me involved with the DJing, that's one thing where I this year said I was going to restart doing some of my crates, and I feel like that's going to get me, revived into doing this again.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good idea, and I try to go through at least twice a year, and if there's a lot of songs that hey, I find myself I'm using this song a lot. I want to go and try to find a remix or a redrum or a mashup so I can still use it because I still want to use it, but I'm like, yeah, but I gotta switch it up. I gotta do something different with it. It's
because you get bored. You get bored of it, when you're doing this over and over. It's like, all right, I know what's coming next. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So do you have that song that you never get bored with? It doesn't matter whenever it plays. It's you're fine with it.
This is gonna be like kind of probably a cheesy one, like a dub. Like I just love Donde Kudos. Like
sure.
When that song comes on, man, when that beat, like I just love it. Like I don't think
vibe.
Yeah, I just don't know, like and I don't know why I just pulled that one out of the air because there's probably a ton of them. But that's just like one where people are like, oh, that song's however many years old. I'm like, it still bangs,
Yeah, I played it. I played it at a father, son, mother, daughter dance like 4 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, like because there was that that crowd in there, and I was like, oh well, let's cater to them a little bit too. So I just brought it in, and
if it works, it works.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know why mine's also cheesy and it's terrible. So a lot of people get tired of it. I never get tired of "Yeah" by Usher. It's still like,
oh yeah, by Usher. That was gonna be my other one.
At least here, it's still just everybody knows it.
Yeah, my wife
You know?
actually said something to me not that long ago where the song came on the radio one time and I turned it up. She's like, "I'm so sick of this song." I'm like, and you don't even hear it as often as I do because I'm a DJ. I'm like, and I'm not even like, it's just one of those songs that I feel is going to be a classic for everybody. That beat is just going to hit.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, and it's just so memorable and everybody knows it. So as soon as you hit that drop, that beat on it,
Yep.
everybody's, oh yeah. Obviously, yeah.
And it's
Um,
cool across all eras. So for everybody.
yeah, for sure. All right, so let's keep the rest of this pretty simple. So you're talking about it. How did the idea for Simple come around? And kind of tell people who don't maybe know what is Simple, what does it do for us, and then kind of your genesis for your idea for it.
Yeah. So what is Simple? If you're going to break it down to like its simplest form, it's a CRM system, right? That's if you want to break it down to its simplest form.
All right. So real quick,
Yep.
what is CRM? Just make sure that we're giving everybody all the info.
Yep. So people use the acronym CRM differently. I call it client relations management. Okay. So it's a client relations management system. If you actually say that backwards, it makes sense. If you say client relations management, you're managing the relationships of your clients.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but it's in my opinion, everything you need to run your business from, event planning of it to, getting the music to social media, to your marketing, to your numbers, to your staffing, to your equipment. Like, listen, 30 years in the industry, like, I'm not saying I know everything because I definitely don't, but I've been around the block enough to know what we kind of need. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And again,
at least the baseline, like what everybody needs.
At least the baseline. And what's been happening, and I'll get to the point of how Simple came up in a second. But what's been happening with more and more DJs coming on board, we're getting different ideas from other DJs. It's like, oh, hey, you know what I do to use to run my business? Or you know what'd be cool? Or if this tool did that too. So we're still building the system out as well. Like we have the core of the system of what you need. But man, like let me rewind because of what I was about to say was if you would have told me I'm going to go back 15 years ago now, okay, is when I came up with the concept. If you would have told me 15 years ago that I'd be here on a podcast and even what the system looks like and what the system is actually doing, I wouldn't believe you. I'm like, there's no way. Because like my thought on the system was just so basic. It was so simple, right? And the system has grown to something to where I look at it every day and I'm like, wow, like how did we put these kind of tools into this thing? So the origin of it all was me transitioning out of radio, right? When I got married and had my first kid, I didn't, want to have that nightlife in the club kind of, job. So I went and took what I say it all the time, the big boy job, the dad job.
Yeah.
And it's funny when you asked me before about, pinpointing when I fell in love with music, I can actually pinpoint this exact moment in time, which is a weird thing that, I was starting my own DJing company, sort of. I had a little Verizon flip phone and a little pad. And I get a call one day to do somebody's wedding. I didn't have an office. So I go to the guy's house. His daughter was in the military. And I think she just flew in from like China or something like that. So me and the dad were downstairs talking while she was getting ready to come down. And he's kind of asking me what I do for a living. I'm like, oh, I work in radio, but I'm getting ready to get married and have a kid. I'm looking to get out of it. And he's like, what are you looking to do? And I was like, I don't know. Long story short, he told me about this software that he was building for bars and restaurants. And he's like, hey, I'm looking for some salespeople. Like, you think you can sell this to bars and restaurants? And being a DJ and knowing bars and restaurants so well, I'm like, yeah, this is easy. I could sell this all day long. So he hired me on the spot to work for his company. Besides the wedding I'm about to get hired for his daughter, he hired me for a job. So I knew if I left radio, I had a job now, right?
Yeah.
So I'm selling this to bars and restaurants. And as I'm doing this for like about a year, my DJing business is just picking up and picking up and picking up. And like I said, I'm pen and paper. So one day I decided to take the demo system that I was messing with and kind of mess around with it. Okay. And I just turned it into what I called a very basic DJ system from like a bar and restaurant system. So that's where I came up with the concept. And then a gentleman that I worked with at the job ended up being the programmer of that software. So we ended up leaving that company at different times in our life, but we reconnected years later. And I said, hey, that software that you had, can we build an event system off it? So really, I built it for myself. I never built it to sell. It wasn't something I was like, my DJing business was picking up so fast. I just needed something to stay organized.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really find any software out there at the time that did everything I wanted it to do. And what I mean by that is like, and you know this just as well as I do, we need a million things to run our business, right? We need Spotify. We need this. We need that. But I didn't like that I had to log into 10 different things and I had all these tabs open on my computer that to run my business, it was like brain power. You know what I mean? Like it was just crazy. I was like, why can't there be a system that I can log in and run everything from one system? Even if I got to connect to these things, but like this is my home. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Connect it once and then don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. So that was my concept of coming up with it. And then, but for me, again, just for me. And then when COVID hit, I'm not shy about this. I fully give credit where credit's due. I came across crate hackers just like every other DJ, when they launched their thing. And I bought crate hackers as a DJ. I'm like, yeah, I'm not making any money. Let's throw $300 on a credit card and reorganize.
Absolutely.
You mean
what a better time to do that?
That's what we were all doing, right? During COVID, just putting money on credit cards. So I bought crate hackers and then poking around their software, they do a ton of good things that they're doing. But there was something very intriguing that they had in their software that caught my attention. And I didn't know any of these guys, but I, started getting some people online and got connected to the right people. And eventually I came up with an idea of how our softwares could actually benefit each other. Okay. So I pitched them the idea. They loved it. Next thing I know, I'm out in Vegas 3 years ago for the first time. And they invited me into their booth. Aaron Trailer was like, hey, come on in. If people want to find out about crate hackers and they want to see the integration we built, show it to them. And he didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? Like, That's why I give credit where credit's due, man. Like, I feel like crate hackers gave us that little kick in the pants that like kind of pushed us out into the industry. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But even at that time that I was doing that crate hackers thing, again, that was just for me. Simple was not out to the world at this time.
Yeah.
But when I came back from Vegas, my wife was like, how was Vegas? And I was like, I sold 13 systems. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I got invited into a booth and just walking around people. And in 3 days, I sold 13 simple systems by accident, kind of.
Yeah.
I was like, I think I have something kind of special here. And then that was the moment that I just decided to go full force. And I called up my programmers and I said, hey, we need to make this an official thing and like a product. And we launched it as a product 3 years ago.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so, well, since then, you obviously have the crate hackers, but, I've done the demo and I've seen the whole thing and I've worked with, that sort of thing. Like, what are some of the other kind of crazy like innovations of things that you have connected to it that you've kind of built off it, and to keep really updating people's ROI if they do decide to get it.
We've integrated Chat GPT, so we have AI built in where if you need help writing emails, it'll write emails for you. If you wanted to write a social media post, you can schedule the system to generate a social media post and write it for you based on the information it knows about the event, the date, the time, the location. Maybe even who the DJ is, like whatever, but you have AI built in that way. We have some other AI stuff coming down. Actually, I got one right here, Mentor Pods. Okay,
yeah.
Right there. We're actually getting ready to release a integration with Mentor Pods next Thursday night. We're going to be doing a live Zoom introducing that for, I don't know if you know who Matt Radicelli is, but
I know Matt real well.
Yeah, and if people don't know Matt, man, if you ever see him at a show, pick his brain for 10 minutes, man. He will blow your mind,
Yeah, well, and in 10 minutes, he's going to give you a lifetime worth of ideas.
It's crazy. Like, I've met him at a couple of shows. Like, we're real cool with each other now. But, like, again, 3 years ago, he didn't know me. I didn't know him. And, he showed me Mentor Pods, and I thought it was really cool. And kind of like with the Crate Hackers thing, I saw something in Mentor Pods. I was like, interesting. So I had an idea for that, pitched Matt the idea, and we built an integration that we're about to launch on Thursday. There's some other things in the works. I know that you and I have talked about, some ideas that I've had. But I have some other things in the works too. But it's just, we've integrated with Chat GPT, Spotify, Crate Hackers, Mentor Pods. I'm trying to think like what else. Google. Like, it's just we try to integrate with whatever we can.
Sure.
Where the industry is starting to take us a little bit, which again, I didn't see this one coming because it's not what I do. A lot of DJs are getting into the whole production world, which I know because you sell the equipment, right?
Yeah, sure.
We are one of the only CRMs that I've been told, that has a inventory management system built into a CRM to control your inventory and know with QR code scanning capability too. You can use your smartphone to you scan out QR codes of the equipment that's coming out. So like we already have that built already, but we're building on top of that now with all these other production guys that are coming in, and it's just getting crazy, man. Like it's like we have a whole nother division that I didn't even think about Shout outs to my guy, Matt and Rick over in Boston at Central Mass Productions. They have a huge DJing company, but a big part of their company is repeating events with DJ trivia, DJ bingo, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So when they signed on for Simple, Matt was like, hey, I love it. I would love if you could maybe help me out with this part of my business. So we built a whole repeating events part, for that kind of business.
Oh, sure. So just like standing events that always happen and all.
I can literally press a button and schedule this bar that I do karaoke at on Thursdays. I can press one button and schedule it for the next 3 months in one button. A DJ backs out, I can press a button and, try to find coverage for it with the press of a button, like just things like that.
And that all goes in like with the inventory. Hey, these are going to be out at this event on this day.
And that it's scheduled out every Thursday from 7 to 10, right? Same thing with payroll on it. Like, he told us that we saved them time on payroll because now we shoot them a report on Monday morning on who worked what event, what they get paid for the event. So it's just, we're branching off into so many little pieces. We hopefully have an event planner coming on board that wants to help us build out an event planner version of this, So it could be for DJs, photographers, videographers, photo booth companies. It can go whatever you want.
Whatever. Yeah. It's a CRM that was built for DJs, but it's kind of anybody in the whole services industry.
Event industry, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Nice. So what so obviously that's taking up a whole bunch more of your time and all that sort of thing. And are you enjoying the craziness of the, the kind of takeoff that it's had, or is it overwhelming, or
both?
Yes.
Both.
Just yes.
Yeah, both. I don't want to say too overwhelming. It can be at times, just like anything can be, just like owning a DJ.
Yeah, for sure.
But man, yeah, I'm enjoying this ride. Like I said, DJ for all these years, never saw my life taking this turn, going down the software path. Always thought it'd be cool. Maybe one day I'll throw it out there, see if anyone's interested in it, but never saw this happening. And this fast. Okay. And to me, the response that we've been getting, that's the overwhelming feeling for me. It's just like, I don't know how you are, but me, like I was nervous. The first time I went out to Vegas, I was nervous bringing this out there. I didn't want someone to like pat me on the head and be like, hey, nice try, kid. Like good.
Yeah,
it's
cute.
It's cute.
Yeah, that's cute.
But we have this, and this, like, we don't need another one. You always get nervous when you're bringing something to your peers, but the response that we've been getting, that honestly is what motivates me. Like people, just the things that people say. I don't want to say like people just like, listen, this is game changing, like this, that, like the words are just very nice and it's very encouraging. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And there's, I've done a pod on here with Lou, and he has his own version with Q that he really likes, and he built it the way that he thinks it should be going. And I like that there's a lot of different things depending on what you want to do, how you want it to work with your business. There's kind of like Amazon, you can find what's going to fit for what you need and work how you need it to work. So I think that's awesome that you're giving everybody another opportunity to kind of find all that and find their own way to figure out what they need and what they want in their business. And, even if they don't ever sign up with you, like, I encourage you guys to all do a demo and all that sort of thing with him and or Lou or anybody else who does.
Lou's 20 minutes away from me. I know Lou very well. Like, me and Lou are in the same area. So
yeah. And like, but the really cool part about that is like, you guys are both so passionate about it that you're like, yeah, let's hop on a Zoom. Let's talk about it. Let's go over. And, I think that's always a really good thing. Like we say, we would love if you bought with us at all the time at NLFX, but go out, see what else is out there. Just give us a try.
Listen, I'm a firm believer in, there's Coke, there's Pepsi, there's Home Depot, there's Lowe's, there's Apple, there's Android. There's something for everybody. There's not just one for everybody.
No, absolutely.
All I've ever asked for, and I've always been a firm believer in this too. And ever have somebody tell you, like one of your friends, like, oh, I can get you that job. You need a job, I can get you a job. I've never wanted anyone to ever get me the job. I've always said, get me the interview.
Yeah.
I'll take it from there. And if I don't get the job, then I don't get the job. But don't get me the job, get me the interview. And that's how I feel about Simple. It's like, listen, I'm not saying Simple is for everybody. I like to think that it is and that it could be. But if it's not for you, that's 100% fine. I just want the opportunity to be able to present it to you and show you what we're doing. And you make the decision from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it's matter of taste and it's matter of what you need at that time. So, but that's really awesome. So, give Simple an opportunity if that's something that you guys need in your business. CRMs make businesses 1,000 times easier to run because of, like you said, kind of with the AI stuff, it's, automatically scheduling emails and making sure that when everything's booked, and it's a universal calendar that multi-app, the whole team can use it, the whole team can see it, all that sort of thing, and same thing with like Q with Lou, like that's same sort of thing there. It's just CRMs are super, super powerful, and once you get to a certain level, they're absolutely necessary.
Well, that's actually one of our other integrations. You were talking about integrations before. I just thought of one. For any of you listeners that know Eric Massengale, okay, we integrated with Eric Massengale where he created a whole automate your CRM system. But we integrated with him to where if you purchase his system, you can literally just download it right into Simple. And listen, as long as I told you I've been DJing, I have never used automation up until 2 years ago when I bought Eric's system. So I bought Eric's system, and now my DJing business is being automated. I can't even tell you what that's done for my DJing business. I tell people all the time, I am literally the speaker child of all this, because if the automation was not running my DJing business as well as it was, I wouldn't have time to be running Simple.
Right.
I'd be focused on my DJing business. So the fact that my CRM, my Simple system, mixed in with Eric's drip campaigns and things like that, is running my DJing business so efficiently, it allows free time for me to now focus on opening up a second company, which is now Simple. So I am the poster child of that. I'm proof that these systems work.
You're not only the president, you're also a client.
Yeah, so, right. I got you, bro.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think we look good. And I didn't tell you this before, but I also actually went to school for TV and radio broadcasting, and I'm happy to see that I have another fellow guy who has a face for radio. So that's very nice that you shared that with us. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
So that's Simple. So again, if you guys want anything on that, make sure you contact Brian about it. But let's get back a little bit to your DJ business. So, us, I don't know if we're gearheads, we're all that sort of thing. So let's kind of go. And I know you're not a huge gearhead.
Not as much as most. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So let's just walk through your stuff a little bit. So you're out there, you're DJing. What kind of speakers are you bringing out all the time?
I like RCF, and it's not that I'm against any other one. I have to have RCFs.
Sure.
I was back and forth between them and QSCs, and I don't know. I went RCF, and I like them. Still gotta get my subs off you. I know you have them on order for me. They're coming. I know.
Yeah, I have an order right over here, just waiting to get send on.
It's been sitting there, but no, I got RCF tops. I use a Shure microphone. I like Shure. I do want to upgrade my controller. I know I'm definitely behind on my upgrades, but I'm still using the DDJ SZ.
Oh, I have an SZ too. I mean,
yeah.
So I'm still using my Danny Max booth. So
I still use that. I actually have two of those. What I've been looking into, I know it's not new anymore, but I've been looking at the Flex 10. I like how that looks. So, but besides that, I just bought a Toad booth, which my wife doesn't understand why I'm trying to get out of DJing, but I'm still buying more gear, but I am.
Yep.
But I always say, like, if I'm going to stay in it, then I want to make it as simple and as easy as I can. So it
seems to be a philosophy in your life, simple,
Yeah, simple. Just, my life is chaotic enough between everything.
Yeah.
So where and when I can make things simple, I try to.
100%.
But yeah, that's and then I use, both Lighting USA. I just bought a ton of lights from them. The tubes, the uplights. I use the sound switch. Okay. So that's pretty much it.
Right on. And so you said you just got the Toad booth and everything. So do you move your controller to different setups, or you just use it all in the set? You just always using the Toad booth now?
So I have two SZs, so I do have a different one in case I'm at a venue where I can't get the Toad booth in.
Yeah, sure.
So that one, both of them stay where they are. The control doesn't come out of any system. I'm actually going to be driving down to Long Island, I think, next week, because if you know anything about me, and this is why, I had to build something like Simple, because I don't think I was ever going to find anything that was going to fit what I liked. I like to customize things. I'm a big custom person. So I'm actually going down to Long Island where I have somebody customizing a top for my Toad booth, so everything just looks flush.
Sure.
But yeah, I just leave that one in there. That'll stay in there the whole time, and then my portable one is there, and then I have my
and I just want to make sure you're a black equipment guy, right?
Yes, I'm a black equipment guy.
Okay, I thought that was the case, and I thought I remembered that. I just wanted to make sure. So, so you do all those for your sound and your lights. And yeah, no, I think that, is there anything else that you use on a regular basis, or like you said, you got the both uplights and stuff like that? Are you doing sort of special effects or photo booths or any of that?
Yeah, so I have a Danny Max photo booth.
Okay.
And I also have a photo booth division. So I have my guy that runs my photo booth division, but I have a Danny Max photo booth. Actually, I bought it for my two sons, so they can like do like little school dance gigs. But
Okay.
I do have two other photo booths that my photo booth guy runs. I did the sparklers for a little bit, got away from them. That's about it.
Okay, sweet. Well, that's awesome. Do you want to give a shout out to anything like, you know, simple, your any of your social media, anything like that that people can follow along with?
Yeah, just check us out. It's you know, we made the word simple, so it's just SMPL. You know, okay, so SMPL system. That's on all of our social medias. Finally got around to creating a YouTube channel the other day, so we got a lot of videos up there. If you want to check out any of the help videos and things, check out what we got going on. There's a demo video on there if you want to watch it. So check us out.
Pretty sweet. Awesome. Well, I didn't ask you this question. I always do. So how did you kind of come to know all about NLFX? Did you know about them before you started going to trade shows or after, or how'd that all go?
So the first show I ever went to was Harvest of Sound out in Boston. That's where I met Ben.
Okay.
And that's really where I found out about you guys. Met Ben. Ben was just an awesome dude. We got to chatting. And then just a relationship of seeing you guys at all these other shows in the last couple of years. But the initial introduction was Ben over at Harvest of Sound like 3 years ago.
Awesome. Yeah. So do you like the speaker shootout, all that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think the speaker shootout's pretty awesome. Actually, I love the concept of it. And as a person that said, like, I'm not an over the top, you know, gearhead.
Mm-hmm.
Speakers are always the conversation that people have. Oh, what's the best speaker? Like I knew like the new 70s and 90s just came out, right? And everyone's all over social media about those. So I love the fact that, like, you know, and especially with someone like the knowledge of Ben, with his knowledge of knowing about that stuff, giving you a clear sound of what these speakers sound like.
Yeah.
I like what they did this year where they actually hid them so you couldn't see even what they looked like. You only had to go by sound. So even that was
kind of cool. Well, because, you know, and it is like some people will see a label and they're just biased. Like some people, like you love RCF. Some people are like, oh man, RCF is trash. So they'll see an RCF logo and in their mind they're like, oh, I don't like it because I don't like any RCFs.
Yeah.
But then you hear it, you know, and I think that was really telling, especially this year, because like in the column shootout, the highest number of people who loved it was the Harbinger.
Really?
Yeah. Like that was the highest rated column array system was the Harbinger.
Yeah, I'm not biased to any brand whatsoever. Like I know I have RCF and I do love RCF, but like I don't hate on any other brand. It's just I have to hear it. You know, it's like it's almost like clothes. Like I can't order clothes online. Like I have to try them on. I can't
100%.
I can't just order a speaker because it's the new one that came out. Like I have to go hear it first.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing that people really aren't able to do very easily anymore is hear everything in a place. And so we're actually trying to work with some speaker manufacturers right now and make a traveling speaker shootout. So, you know, we might be coming to a city near you. We're going to start in the Midwest because that's where we're located, but it might branch out from there. And we're coming around with, you know, 10, 12, 14 different popular speakers from all the major manufacturers trying to get them from. And we're going to try to get that so that people can really hear. They can hear the difference. Like, you know, people will hear the thing, oh man, the new QSCs, those things are trash. But then, you know, you're going to go in here and be like, really? Because, man, I really like the way those things sound. And, you know, then you can make up your mind on what you actually want as opposed to, oh, what does, and let's be honest, shouting into the abyss of social media. Oh, hey, what does everybody run?
I know.
And you hear
those
all
questions.
These different.
I read them just because I try to, but it's like you're just opening up a can right there because there's gonna be so many different opinions and so many different things. Like you have to go with what's right for you. You know.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's like asking. You know, it's like asking somebody like, "Oh, hey, like, what's your favorite type of underwear?" It's like, well, I don't.
Or is it DJ?
What's the like? Where am I at? What's the concept? What am I doing? Like, how heavy am I? How skinny am I? Like,
I love when people are like, "What's your favorite song?" I'm like, really? Like,
yeah. It's funny you say that. My oldest daughter actually asked me that last night. She's like, we were talking about music and stuff, and she's like, well, what's your favorite song? I'm like, whew.
Yeah. What are we talking here?
What decade? What genre? What beat? What? I have favorites in all these different areas, but I can't just say, oh yeah, I just love this one song. But
That's funny.
yeah, it's just, crazy to think about. But yeah, so if that's something that you guys are interested in, give me a holler on social media, or send me something at NLFX, and let us know if you want us to come around where you guys are. Leave a post on the video, or a comment on any of the podcasts where you see them, and we'll try to figure that out. Again, we're going to start around the Midwest, and it's going to come slow out. It's not going to be, oh hey, we're going to go to 90 cities in 30 days, because that's just not feasible. But we want to be able to do that, because we hear everybody like, oh man, I really wish I could have been there to hear those, because I really want to hear those. And not everybody can, like us, can't make it to every single DJ show to hear, and even when you go to DJ shows, sometimes there's one speaker brand, sometimes there's two, maybe three, unless you're going to NAMM where everybody is. And then even then it's like, well, you hear them on the floor with 20,000 people walking around. So are they what it actually sounds like? Or so yeah, we're really excited about that. And again, we're working on it and trying to get through everything right now. So as soon as we can, we'll get it out to everybody. So
cool.
But yeah, is there anything else you want to, for the good of the pod, anything else you want to tell everybody about Brian or Simple? Or
no, just be on the lookout for more crazy ideas that I have,
okay,
hopefully coming to fruition soon. So I'm not done. Right. I'm not done thinking of crazy things. So
well, that's good, because everybody needs somebody who thinks different. So that's awesome. Well, again, Brian, we really appreciate you being on. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. We'll catch you guys all again next week. Okay, take care.